Monster Princess Productions presents
It's the Dialogue Dialogue. It's the Dialogue Diva.
Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Cece. I'm here today, and we are going to have a lot of fun. I think we're going to have a lot of laughs. I think we're going to maybe shed a tear or two. But in the end, this is just a real feel-good type of show today. And I am very excited about our show today. Today, we are going to be sharing sibling stories. Basically, in a nutshell, just what the title says, we are going to be talking about our brothers and our sisters, and have I got some stories for you. I think we're going to have a great time. Just sit back, kind of chill out, grab you some popcorn, because some of these things, and you might grab a hanky, because there might be one or two that might get to you. All right, let's get into it. First up, we have a couple of sisters out of Duncan, Oklahoma. This is Becky and her younger sister, Shelly, telling a story about a time when their mother left them alone at home while she ran to the grocery store.
Don't watch it without me being here. And so, me and Crunch were determined that we were going to watch it while there was nobody there. So, we told Angela to go downstairs and watch for Mom and come up and tell us when Mom got there. So Angel's at the bottom of the stairs.
So she was the lookout.
Yeah, and she decided that the shoes that she was going to wear was Shelly's church shoes, which was too big for her. Dumb to begin with.
So anyway, to go downstairs, she was going to wear the church shoes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they're too big. And so Angel's standing down at the bottom of the stairs waiting for Mom. Me and Jennifer are watching Ghostbusters. The phone rings. I don't know who in the world was on the phone. I cannot remember to save my life. I think it might have been Mom, because she just had an intuition thing to call. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, and then Shelly and Crunch were in the bathroom doing Bloody Mary, and they were squirting ketchup every time they said Bloody Mary.
Oh my goodness.
And so they're like, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. There's ketchup all over the whole bathroom. And
how old was she?
I don't know. How old were you guys?
Little. I don't know.
Old enough for Angel to go downstairs.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was probably 7. So I was probably about 9. You'd have been 12. Yeah.
Anyway.
Sounds right.
So we were sitting there, we were watching the Ghostbusters, and just where that ghost comes out the library and her face just blows up, the phone rings, and then Angela loses her balance and hits her head on the stairwell, and this pregnant woman's carrying her up the steps, and she's squirting blood. And then they're in there doing Bloody Mary, and then Mom
we were
comes
screaming
up
because we wanted it to be like Bloody Mary was really there. And we wanted Angela and Becky and Jennifer to walk in there and be like, "Oh no, it's really there!" And then Mom came walking up, like after all of that had gone down, and Angela's just like bleeding, and then Mom was like, "Y'all are in so much trouble." And then Angel's looking at all that ketchup going, "I'm gonna die." She's squirting blood because it's in the middle of her forehead. But she thinks all that blood,
All that ketchup is from her.
She's like, it was hilarious. And Mom was like, "Arr. I'm not leaving y'all alone no more."
Can't leave you anywhere.
This is Shelly's turn. Because Shelly don't want to get me going. Shut up, just talk.
You have to come closer. Stop whispering.
I don't want to be on there.
No, shut up and just go.
She said shut up and talk. Your sister literally just told you, shut up and talk.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
about you? What's one of your favorite sister tales?
When Mom was in the hospital, she had to be in Oklahoma City. We were in Duncan. It was kind of our first year in Duncan, so we didn't know very many people. And the hospice brought us home from the hospital for us to stay at home until Mama got there. And we were like, I was 14 when we first moved down there, so I had to be 15. And Pekka was like 18. And, you know, Angie, 2 years younger than me. So she was 13. Anyway, we got there and we were really worried about Mom because she was rough that time. And we honestly didn't think that she was going to make it because we were scared. I mean, there was a lot going on. And so we decided that we needed to have a prayer meeting. And we prayed. And the Lord moved in. And it was just miraculous. I mean, it was amazing. Because there was tongues and interpretation. And it was just us 3 kids. You know, and it's in the middle of the night. And we're all worried. And we don't know what to do. And then it ends up being like this major hoedown prayer meeting. And the tongues and interpretation, the Lord told us that we each had a calling on our lives. And we needed to stay strong for Mom and for each other. He sees things he sees how when people are doing cross stitch, if you look at it from the bottom, it looks like a hot mess. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it from the top, it's like, wow, that's a beautiful picture.
Wow.
And God was like, I see things like the whole picture.
Wow.
And whenever you look at it, you're looking at it from down to up. And so you don't see the whole picture. And all you see is like, oh my goodness, this is a hot mess. And God's like, look, I can see this and it's working out and it's going to be great. And he said, we just need to realize that whenever we're going through things, that he sees the full picture and how it's supposed to be and how beautiful things are just going to turn out. And we just need to trust him.
I caught up with Becky and Shelley's youngest sister, Angela, a.k.a. the Lookout.
My favorite thing about being the baby of the group, Mama always spoiled me more than she did the other 2.
So how?
When we did chores, I always got away with not doing them. Becky and Shelley always had to take over my chores. Did Becky tell the story about me being the lookout?
During the Ghostbusters Bloody Mary?
No. This one was not really having a party, but I think Munch and Crunch were there as well this time. But they had the speakers all laid out in the room, like the big boombox speakers laid out. Shelley, Becky, Munch and Crunch were all in the bedroom listening to music and jamming out, and they told me to be the lookout for Mom. So when Mom came home...
Now, wait a second, because you were the lookout before.
Yes.
And you weren't a good lookout.
No.
But they asked you to be a lookout again.
Yes. Well, this time I was outside playing with my friends, waiting for Mom to show up. Well, like the last time, it was kind of one of those, oh, she's already in the driveway. I better hurry up and go tell him. So I took off running into the house to let Becky and Shelley know that Mom was there. And I forgot they laid the speakers down in front of the door and ran straight into the speaker and scamped my leg from ankle all the way up to kneecap. Landed in the floor and looked up at my sister as Mom's standing over the top of me going, Mom's home! With the music blaring.
Ran right into the speakers.
Yes.
And how old were you?
Oh, I want to say it was like maybe 6 or 7 at the time.
You were little.
Yes.
How often did they have you be the lookout?
I think all the time.
All the
honestly.
time? Well, how did you participate in anything if you're always the lookout?
I think they thought it was fun for me to be the lookout because
Because you were so bad at it.
brain, you know? Let's see if she can actually do this.
You were not good at it.
No.
That's hilarious.
there's a general consensus that the difference between fraternal twins and identical twins has to do with how they look. And that's just not the case. It has to do with how they are formed when they're in the womb. The genetic similarity between fraternal twins is the same as any other two siblings, my brother and myself, and we're 22 months apart. So it's interesting when we talk about fraternal twins. You can have two boy twins, two male twins that can be either fraternal or identical. You can have two female twins that can be either fraternal or identical. However, when it comes to a mixed pair, a boy and a girl twin, they are always fraternal. It's very interesting. I had a good conversation with someone who is a fraternal twin. He has a twin sister who is about 5 minutes older. So not a lot in the span of actual time. However, she's always been his big sister.
So during the time, Angie was a head taller than me. I was in 6th grade. We only lived 3 blocks from the school, so we would walk home, being 4 blocks from the school. This was grade school. This was D. Kirkland Elementary. Anyway, the boys in class would give me a head start. They'd say, "We're going to beat you up, but we're going to let you leave 10 minutes before we leave. If we catch you before you get to your home, then we get to beat you up. If you make it home, and you better run, because we will get you." And they would start telling me this in the middle of the day to give me heads up, to keep me petrified all till the end of school. Anyway, they knew I was in 6th grade, and they knew I was a band, and I had to carry home a baritone, which is a smaller version of a tuba. But it's still big, especially me. She was a foot taller than me, so I was probably 4'8", maybe, or 4. No, I wasn't even that tall then. I was probably 4'2" or 4'3", and I was extremely skinny. And the baritone was so heavy, I had to carry it with 2 arms. But after lugging it around, it was the worst mistake of my life. And I started hating that thing. So I would have to lug this instrument home. And I would tell Angie in the middle of the day, "They're going to beat me up. Just giving me time." They've given me time. They're giving me 10-minute head start. And Angie goes, "We'll see about that." And she was always sticking up for me. This particular day, they all followed me, and they ran. I mean, I'll never forget, I heard the whistle, and which let me know that they were coming. And I started running with that baritone, and I fell, and the baritone fell. I fell over the baritone. And the suitcase, I was praying that it would just go out in the street and get run over by a car, because it was a busy thoroughfare where we walked. But nothing happened to it. It was good as new. And those kids ran after me, and when they got to there were 3 pine trees that went in a horizontal line as we were walking vertically. And they got me behind those pine trees, and they grabbed my books and my papers and flung them all over the street, the busy street.
Wow.
And Angie came out of the bush. Here she is, a head taller than me, and everybody called her Amazon because she was so big. Big boned, this big girl coming out behind the trees, and she had a backhand punch. She had a backhand punch, and she would tuck her thumb in her fingers, and she would double up her fist like that, and backhand them, boom, boom, boom. And she took on like 4 dogs. And they all ran away, called her crazy. And I'll never forget. I'm in near tears because my sister's just taken up for me. I turned around and I said,
Kind of like this story.
"Thank you, Angie." And she said, "You're welcome. But you're going to have to start taking up for yourself." And I was just I laughed all the way home in my head.
Speaking of brothers and sisters, we're going to hear a story from a biological sister about her biological brother. And then I'm going to tell you a story about the same guy because he became my adopted brother. You want to talk about your brother, Chris?
Yeah,
How many years between the two of you?
4.5.
When you were younger, did you guys get along?
Yeah, he was always my protector,
Yeah.
my bodyguard.
He was your bodyguard. Tell me a story or an incident or something that happened that really sticks out in your mind.
Well, what made me realize he was my protector is the way our mom was, is she was screaming and yelling at me, and he stood in and said, "You will no longer treat us like this, and you will start treating us with respect, and there's no reason to treat your own kids like this." He stuck up for me.
And how old was he?
He was 10, so he was probably 11 or probably 13.
So he was around 13, 14.
Yeah, it was just before he moved to Guthrie.
What was it like when he moved to Guthrie?
It was hard on me because I felt I was losing my protector.
Yeah.
But I knew I wasn't because I could go see him anytime.
So when you would reunite, what was that like?
Good. I mean, because I felt it was good because, he'd make sure I was okay, and he genuinely cared and wanted to taught me, how to stand up for myself and take care of myself and function on my own. Well, a funny story I can think of is one time when Colleen and I were driving down, there was, I think he just had his ingrown toenail removed, and we were driving in the teeth of thunderstorms. We were bringing him some baby stuff for Andy, and he calls me and Mom and our grandma and all said, "Oh, the sirens are going off. Do you think I ought to get in my closet?" Typical Chris. He's like, "Do you think I need to get in my closet now?" I'm like, yeah.
Yes, if the sirens are going off.
But he had humor. That's one funny story that always sticks out, that he called and goes, "Do you think I need to?"
How long has he been gone?
He passed away November 5th, 2010, and we're in 2018, so about 8 years now. Yeah, it was 8 years this past fall.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that... Some days it seems like it was just yesterday, like it was just a few months ago. And then sometimes it feels like it was a lifetime ago.
I know. Like right now it seems like I wish he was here with this that I'm going through.
Yeah. What would he say to you if he were here?
Give it all to God, because he's the master physician and healer, is what he would tell me, and to stay strong because Jane and Michaela need me.
Yeah. How old is Michaela now?
19.
I thought she was.
The biggest thing that stuck out in my mind that really seemed to ground him was meeting Becky Ann and their wedding. I saw a big change in him from, to being a family man.
You said you saw a big change in him?
Yeah, positive in him. It's like she helped kind of ground him and settle things down for him.
He just really, really enjoyed being a family man. And,
oh, he did.
His wife and his children, they were like...
his whole world.
Yeah.
And the other person that was his whole world, it seemed like was his Aunt Daw or his Aunt Guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he loved her.
And Grandma Great.
And Grandma Great. Oh, he talks... I can remember him talking about Grandma Great all the time. And the really good life lessons that she taught him, and he still had. One of the things I remember he talked about was about treating people with respect and how critical that was. Absolutely super important, and he kept that. And he loved him some Jesus.
Oh, I know that was. He loved the Hands of Sign Language Choir.
The Hands of Faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was amazing.
And he loved your Zachariah too. That was his buddy.
Yeah. And Zachariah loved his Uncle Chris.
Mhm. Chris would be proud of who he's become.
Yeah. I believe that. I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts and your memories.
I love my brother a lot, and I still do.
Chris was a 34-year-old father of two and had been married to Becky for 12 years when he passed in a car accident. When he was just barely 16, through a series of events well beyond his control as a young teenager, he ended up in Oklahoma, and he ended up in my life. And I did not expect, I have a biological brother that, as I mentioned before, was 22 months younger than myself. So we're about 2 years apart, and I love him to pieces. And then Chris came along, and Chris was younger. And he and I really bonded, even though we were not blood brother and sister, and we were not raised together when we were young children. I was a young adult, and he was, mid-teenager. And I taught him how to drive. I taught him all kinds of things. And he turned out to be an amazing guy. And he taught a lot of us a lot of things. And one thing that I remember the most about him is how he could be so generous. He would give of his time. He would give his money. He would give his advice passed down from his grandparents. So it was wise, sage advice. And he would share the bad times with you. And I remember going through a really rough time in my life, and it was the middle of the night, and he had a wife and 2 small children, and they were all at home asleep. But he said, if you ever need anything, you call me anytime. And people will say that. They say that all the time. But let me tell you, they meant it. And so, in my darkest midnight, I called him, and he woke his wife up, and he woke his children up, and they came over to my house. They put the children in the bed, put them back to sleep, And then he and his wife laid in the floor, because that's where I was, laid in the middle of the floor with me. While I cried. And they cried with me, and we prayed, and we cried, and then we watched the sun come up. And it's those kinds of things that happened, whether you are blood brother and sister, or blood siblings, or just become brother and sister. That bond is there. And you cannot shake that bond. That's the real deal. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this episode about siblings, because that is a relationship that once it's there, it's there. And I think that is a very special bond that we all enjoy and that we all hold very precious.
Obviously, it's myself and my sister, biological siblings, but I have far more than two. We just were discussing how Zachariah could be labeled as a sibling, and boy, the stories that I could tell between I and Zachariah. When Anna came into the world, I was so excited. I was pretty excited. I got to hold her, and she was so cute and so wonderful. I don't know what came over me to say this, but once I got done holding her, I looked at my mother and I said, "You can send her back now." That was the starting of I and my sister's friendship. She has been my best friend since the dawn of time, of her life at least. There is a story that comes to mind, is when my father being at work and my mom going to college, we stayed at my grandmother's a lot. And my grandpa, he was kind of immobile to really watch us, and when we were done with homework, we were sentenced to go play outside. Trust me, it was sentence well served. We'd rather be doing that than doing homework. But one day...
Grandpa Chanel?
Yes, Brother Chanel. One day we had this obsession, you could say, with frogs. There were so many frogs at the Chanel's house. So one day we found one of these frogs, and I'll be honest with you, we chased this frog until the frog had a heart attack.
Oh no!
We chased this frog into a heart attack. It just stopped. We felt so small. We felt so sorry, but that didn't last but for a season. So now we have a testing victim on what could happen if a ton bus were to run something over. Here yet, I'm but just a 7-year-old lad. My sister, but a 5-year-old young miss. Neither one of us have an ID to drive, of course. We're children. So how did we get inside the bus? I don't know. We get inside this bus. Her job was to work the pedals, and I would work the steering wheel. The bus was called Bubba, by the way. We named everything. So we turned Bubba on. I threw it into reverse. She worked the pedals, and bing, bang, boom, we had a flat frog.
What's the best part of being the oldest child?
The best part of being the oldest child. You get away with more things than the younger siblings because you can blame on them. And Anna can contest to that. That's her favorite thing to blame on me but let me make a side note. She never got in trouble for it anyways.
Why do you think that is?
She was a daddy's girl.
Oh.
Yes. She had my father wrapped around every finger of his. When she were to get a rightful spanking, my father couldn't take it and would have to go back and apologize to her. Unbelievable. Now, don't get me wrong, my father loved me plenty, but I never got an apology because I rightfully deserved mine. But no, that little girl.
She got apologies.
She got apologies. And if Brahms was open or something, probably an ice cream. I'm not gonna lie. It was bad. It was bad. But I was a mama's boy. That's usually how it works, though. Daddy's girls and mama's boys.
Yeah.
But I was a mama's boy. So
let me ask you a question. The relationship that you have when you were children, was it an easy relationship? And now that you're adults, do you find that you have to work at it, or it comes easy? Or
as kids, me and my sister, all we had was each other. My mom going to college, basically full time, working a full time job. My dad working more than one full time job. He did very, very, they worked hard to give us a life, and I'm very thankful for that. But because of that, it made it very hard for I and my sister to see my parents. Not only that is we went to a private school with very few attending at the private school. Most of those other students were much older than I. Being younger, when all you have is each other, it's easy. It's easy. It doesn't matter if you're mad at each other. You got happy the same way you got mad because you didn't have anybody to talk to, anybody to play with.
What about now as adults?
Okay, so now as adults, I will be honest. There was let me tell you about not a thing we got along about. Not a thing. Two opposite roads that we walk. It could be down to the simple fact of choosing a restaurant, which here in Duncan, you don't got very many options. But now, I should say in young adulting, it's back to that point. You have each other. You get to see and support each other in the lives that we start living. She is going her way and directing what is going to be her future family. She's making a family. I'm making a family. And it's kind of beautiful, really, is because though we came from the same family, you can see what traits she pulled away and what traits I pulled away. Yeah. But at the same time, we have same traits that we want to use in our own family. How we were raised, how we were taught. And that's something that I really look at, is with her and Grayson. Some of the things, how my mom were to treat us, and that's how she's treating Grayson. And it's really a beautiful thing seeing what traits she pulled away and what traits I have. If you want to create a strong bond, you have to work at it. Yeah. You have to work at it with
I think
anybody.
Sometimes people think that just because you're brothers and sisters, or sisters and sisters, or brothers and brothers, that because that bond is there, that relationship is there.
Yeah.
And I think you make a good point, because the relationship is different from the bond. I mean, I look at you and Zechariah. You guys are not blood brothers. So you don't have that bond.
Yeah.
But you are, I guess, adopted brothers.
Yeah.
And so you have that relationship.
Yeah.
We had a bunk bed, and we had a big, I had,
well.
Huh?
No, it was a dolphin.
It was some kind of pillow.
It was a dolphin.
Because whenever we moved in with you, we also brought a big, huge
It was that great big
beanbag.
Right, but the pillow you're talking about is that great big huge dolphin pillow that Uncle Chris made.
Yeah, Uncle Chris made a pillow. Oh, I can tell that story.
And I have a story about the dolphin pillow.
Yeah,
you have a story to tell about
the dolphin pillow?
Really?
No.
Finish yours.
Anyway, so
that's juicy.
Andrew and I and Anna, we just like to fall on things, and so we would climb up. We made like a little thing of it, like a race.
It was a slide.
It
was a slide. It was a slide.
But we would walk up the slide, even though I wasn't supposed to, because I was like a lot of pounds more than them. But anyway, I
had more than less.
Yeah, like this is like it would take like probably 3 or 4 tries to get Anna up. And sometimes Andrew and I would have to like push her on her hind end and like heave her over into the top of the bunk bed. And then Andy, he would do it like in probably two steps toward on the slide. And then I would just have to take like one big stride and pull myself up to the top of the bunk bed. And so Andrew and I were always telling Anna, "Hey Anna, dive into," because they were, she was fragile. "Anna, dive into the pillow." And so she would head first all the time. And then she would go and tell Uncle Chris, and Uncle Chris would be like, "Anna, you chose to do it." And then, she's like, "Don't listen to him." And no matter how many times we went to Uncle Chris, or how many times Anna would go to Uncle Chris, she would always do it again. But Andrew and I, we were a lot older, and so we would just jump on, like we would like not do a cannonball, but we would make our bottoms hit the pillow.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we would do like this thing like a starfish and just fall straight on it. And I remember one time it hit me so hard because Guthrie has a lot of old houses, and it hit me so hard because it's a hardwood floor, or not hardwood floor, but it's like a hard floor, and I would get like headaches. But whenever you're a child, it doesn't matter how many times it hurts you. If it's fun, you just do it over and over and over again.
Yes. Do it.
So it's my turn to tell my sibling story. I have several of them. A lot of really good memories with my brother. When we were younger, growing up, we were really, really close. And I can remember one of my favorite stories, one of my favorite times with my brother was we kind of ended up aggravating my mom, which I feel bad about, but at the time it was really funny. We had moved into a new house, and we were actually helping my mom lay the carpet in our living room. We were at the different corners, and she was going around the edges, and she was doing the tacking part of it. And then we were kind of, I don't know how to describe it other than we were just scooting our hands and arms across it and fanning out just to make sure there was no ripple or air or anything, just to make sure it was good and flat. And then when we got to our respective corners, she told us to stay there. What was funny about it was once we got there, we were young, and who wants to sit and be still, And this was a big open living room with just all this floor. So we thought the best way to help her make sure that the carpet stayed good and flat was for us to roll from one corner to the other. And so he was in one corner and I was the other, and sort of what we felt was the top of the room. And then we rolled across the floor and crossed over, and we ended up in opposite corners. She's trying to tack the floor down and get it all straight and snug. And there, if you've never laid carpet, you have to pull, like you have to make sure that it's taut. And so we really believed that we were helping by rolling over it and over again. And we just giggled and giggled and giggled and rolled and rolled. And she'd say, "Y'all stop that. Y'all stop that. Get back to your corners. Get back to your corners." And we'd go back to our corners. And then we'd sit for a minute, and then we'd just roll back again. And she'd say, okay, that's enough. She was so aggravated, but we just laughed and laughed and laughed. I know that there are times when, siblings will be siblings. It's not every moment is a golden moment. There were times when we would aggravate one another, and boy, did we. But in the end, it was, that's my brother and you can't mess with him. And if you do, you're going to have problems.
taxi, riding without trading wheels. She figured it out, took her about a week, and she's only run over her brother twice.
And so it begins. If we are blessed enough to have been born with a sibling, then we were born with a best friend at our side through the good times and the bad. And if you haven't taken the opportunity today or this week to let your sibling know how much you care about them, I encourage you, take the time now and let them know. It's the Dialogue Defense. It's the Dialogue Defense.